Hi, I'm Lisa Redfern, and this is Gingersnap, episode 81. And I'm here in Brunswick with my friend Jym St Pierre. He's an award-winning photographer, and he also has done a lot of work with conservation and the environment in Maine. And you are or were editor of Maine Environmental News.
I still am.
You still are. And you've done a lot of work for a long time as the Maine Director of RESTORE, the North Woods work.
Correct.
So tell us more about that.
If you want to know anything about what's going on with environmental issues in Maine, people can check the website, Maine Environmental News. Every day I post on there a summary of what's happening in terms of articles, letters to the editor, editorials, and a link to the original. And I've posted over 50,000 articles on there in the last 8 or 9 years. So that's one thing. The other thing is my work for Restore the North Woods, which I've worked for a number of conservation organizations over the years. I've worked for Restore for about 20 years now on mainly issues in Maine's North Woods, but also across the region, across the country, and a little bit across the border. So probably the biggest and best known issue that I've worked on is the proposal for creating a national park unit in the Maine Woods, which culminated a couple of years ago in the designation of Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument.
Yay!
Which is a great success, and a lot of people worked on that. And now, of course, we're trying to keep it from people who would like to undo it or fool around with it, but I'm confident that we're going to keep the national monument, and they're doing a management plan now. We're participating in that, and I encourage people to go there. It's a beautiful place.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Can you show us some of your photographs?
Right. The other thing I do when I'm not doing conservation, well, actually, I guess it overlaps with my conservation interest, is photography, which I've been doing for a long time, and this is a poster from one of my exhibits a year or so ago that I did this series called Maine Landscapes, which is a play on words, obviously, on Maine Landscapes. And it's a series of photographs that I've taken around the state of Maine that show both something beautiful and something that's disturbing. And I like the contrast. So I can show you a couple examples of that. This one is one of my favorites. It's a little bit of glare, but maybe you can see, I guess there's a lot of glare from the window. This is a picture taken in Portland. It's clouds, and it looks like the clouds are being created by the smokestacks there, so I call it Cloud Factory. This is a picture from my North Woods adventures, Katahdin, and power lines. And again, it's just the contrast that really intrigues me of the beauty of our landscapes in Maine, and some artificial intrusion into that. I don't do just ugly pictures. I also do some pretty pictures. Here's one of Katahdin that I took at sunrise. I don't know if you can see with the glare, but
in person you can really see all the subtlety of the colors of the hills.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
This is called Kate with her shroud, Kate Katahdin, and the clouds at dawn. And here's one more sunset picture I took at Chesuncook Lake, which was also used for a book cover a few years ago.
Nice.
So it was a spectacular sunset that's not manipulated. And let's see, the last one I have here, I'll show you, is a picture from one of the conservation areas that I worked on, the Vaughan Woods, that we protected a number of years ago. The sun coming through the trees there. So
beautiful.
I've been doing photography since at least I was in the 6th grade. And I like words, but I like pictures even better.
So, speaking of your childhood, you may be one of the few people who I've interviewed that was actually raised in Maine. I interview a lot of creative Mainers Well, you were raised in Auburn, right?
I was born in the Saco watershed. I grew up
Right
in the Androscoggin watershed. I've lived in the Kennebec watershed, the Penobscot watershed, and a bunch of other places. But yes, I grew up in Maine. I've always lived in Maine.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, I often ask people, when did you first come to Maine? Because I interview a lot of creative Mainers who have immigrated from other places. And actually, I should go back through and sort of add up who have I interviewed that was actually born and raised in Maine. So, Jim, do you know your first word? And if you don't, what do you think it may have been?
My oldest memory is, I think I was maybe less than 2 years old, and I think it was potato.
What a true Maine baby. Potato. All right, well, my first word was cookie. It's in my baby book. And we're going to have these chocolate chip cookies that Teresa made. These are going to be good dippers because I think they were actually made last night. So these are from the Veggie Corner in Harpswell. I'm going to dip mine in my mint tea. With mint and chocolate chip.
Cookies for breakfast. Excellent.
Ooh, that's a good dipper. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
All right. So, when you were a kid or an adolescent, did you have a really cool car that if you could get back, you would? Or did your family, like when you were...
Well, I guess the coolest car that I can remember was when my father bought a Ford convertible, and back in the 50s, the good old days, big fins, driving around in the convertible. It wouldn't pass any of the safety tests today. No seat belts. We probably, as kids, were banging around the back seat.
Jumping from the front to the back of the
Exactly.
The way life should be.
Trying not to jump out the car. Oh, there he goes.
Cool. Okay, so books. I'm a big reader, so I love to ask people what books they recommend. So is there a book that you recommend over and over again? Or have read in the last couple of years that you would recommend?
Well, one of the books that influenced me greatly when I was young was Damien by Hermann Hesse. And I named my firstborn son Jamian, we did, which is an amalgam of James and Damien. I never told him that, so I hope he doesn't see this.
Oh, he will. You never told him that? That's so
I probably told him that years ago,
Jamian.
but when he was too young. The last book I just read was really interesting. It was called The Invention of Nature, which is the story of Alexander von Humboldt. And I'm really interested in history, so I thought that was a really fascinating book.
Well, thank you for those. At some point, I think I said last week, at some point I'm going to go through all these episodes and just write down all the books that everyone recommended and share them, because it's going to make an incredible list. So is there a song or an album that you have come back to again and again as sort of a touchstone in your life, or a couple of them?
Well, one of the albums that comes to mind is I think it was the earliest, or one of the earliest of Pat Metheny's, called Pat Metheny Group, which it just blew me away. It was it's not the kind of music that I usually necessarily listen to, because it's a little more electronic, but it's really it's just beautiful. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can still find that online. That's probably 40 years old now.
So when you come home and you just want to relax or sort of be taken away, what are you drawn to? What do you
For music?
To?
Well, we listen to a lot of. Sorry, that's probably the coffee maker going off. We listen to a lot of classical music. And go to a lot of concerts, especially at Bowdoin College.
Right, that's right. You told me about a bunch of...
But we also, I'm also really interested in folk music. And I think when we moved to Brunswick 6-7 years ago, you were still doing the songwriters.
Right.
And I think we went to every single one of those until you couldn't do it anymore.
You did. You guys were such great supporters of that. Thank you. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
There's a lot of talent in Maine. There really is. All right, Jim, if a movie was made about your life, what genre would it be? And who do you think they'd have star as you? Who would be cast playing you? Or who would you like to have?
It probably would be a tragic comedy.
Perfect.
And I think that they probably should cast Brad Pitt, but more likely, I'm guessing they'll have to bring back Bela Lugosi.
No, Bela Lugosi. Oh my gosh, I know who that is. But I was thinking, is it David Strathairn? Who's the actor? There's an actor you remind me of.
Maybe.
Oh, this is gonna bug me. I should have figured that out first. David Strathairn? Is that his name? I'll figure it out and add it. Okay, so if someone would like to reach out to you as a photographer or get more information, what's the best way for them to find out about your work or to get in touch with you if they'd like to?
Well, I don't have a website for the photography right now. I have some stuff online scattered around, but I guess just get in contact with me here at home in Brunswick, 17 Colonial Drive, Brunswick.
You're giving out your address.
Oh, shouldn't say that. I'm not giving you my social security number.
You can be stalked.
Should I just give out the phone?
No. Maybe, what's your email? Yeah, give them your email.
The email I use the most is JYM, that's how I spell Jim, JYM at restore.org.
Perfect.
So
I just realized we have a little bird thing. Jim gave me a bird mug, and I'm wearing my bird scarf today.
It's very avian.
Kind of goes well with your conservation work. I mean, gotta take care of the birds too. All right, Jim, thank you very much for letting me come into your home and Gingersnap you.
Snap.
Thank you for all your work for Maine and the environment and conservation. I think it's really important work, and Maine thanks you. I thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right, everybody. This has been Gingersnap, episode 81 with Jym St Pierre. I'm Lisa Redfern. If you want to find out about me or my music, you can go to lisaredfern.com. And thanks again. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. This has been Gingersnap.